Hello, fellow fantasy sports fans. We are here on MFSN, the hub. It is time for Waiver Wire Week 7 in baseball, and I'm here with Ross the Boss. We have a theme song for you, Ross. It's na-na-na-da, da-na-na-da-da,
Europe, final countdown. I love it.
Do you know
I'm Ross the Boss. I want to talk sports with you, cowboy. Where's the almighty Casey Scheinfeld? I'm sitting here. I don't see him. Where is he?
Well, listen, I think he may have disappeared into witness protection.
You know what?
We'll have to see.
I'm tired of him. We treat him like royalty here. He's the best in the business. I know that, but this is a warning. He better show up next week.
Yep.
I don't need him anyway. I'm Ross the Boss. Who cares about Casey Scheinfeld?
All right, we're going to get right into it.
Before we get into it, there's something I want to talk to you about, and it's a serious subject in baseball. It's injuries. I mean, Mike Trout, McGroom is out for the Mets. We got Seager out for the Dodgers. I mean, it's a good list of superstars that are hurt, and it's affecting fantasy sports too. And that's why it's important to listen to us today, because the waiver wire is a tool that you got to use to get these guys that are injured. You got to get replacements, and we're here to help you. So let's go.
Good point. The injuries are a huge part of this. So let's start with catcher. We're going to go with Ross the Boss first. You name a catcher, I'll name a catcher. Since it's just me and you, we'll start with the two of us, and then something's happening with my face there. Okay. All right, so you go first, Ross. You name a catcher, then I'll get one.
He's not flashy. This guy's not flashy. I watch him play almost every day, and I always think he's going to start slumping, and he's not slumping. It's Tucker Barnhart, Gold Glove winner. He is a great defensive catcher, but that doesn't really matter in fantasy. But he is hitting close to 300, maybe even over 300. He's still under 50%. No one's respecting his bat at all. And he's again, no press, not flashy. He's playing for a 500 team right now. And if I had to pick up a catcher that's under 50%, I would pick up Tucker right now.
I listen, he would probably be my number one catcher too, because he hits for decent average. That's what you want to look for. But if you need other players, I'm gonna name two. Okay,
Go ahead.
Mike Zanino. Listen, if you're gonna pick up a catcher whose average is terrible, Mike Zanino might be your guy, he really should be your guy.
How many home runs does that guy have? Every time I turn on TV, he's hitting another home run. What's he have?
He has 5 home runs in the last 14 days.
Jeez,
5 home runs in the last 14 days. Okay, the other guy that I have in mind is Victor Caratini. This guy on the Cubs. He's a player that's worth picking up. Let's look at his numbers. Was he on your radar, Ross? Are you even aware of
Victor? Not. I mean, just because of how many starts he gets, he's not getting enough starts for me to be on my team. But he could get more starts. It's not a bad pickup. If you can stash somebody away like Victor, it's a great idea.
And listen, he's a guy who he qualifies at first base. You're not going to play him at first base, but the fact that he qualifies at first base shows he could start getting in the lineup in other ways. We have a comment from Sam Jacobowitz. Welcome back, Sam. It's been a while. He says, don't give up on Luis Castillo. He had some very promising stuff yesterday. Don't give up on players too early. Ross?
I watched him pitch. He gave up. He looked good. Even Barry Larkin, the Reds announcer, said he looked good. Again, his ERA is over 6. I mean, you don't give up on him, but I probably wouldn't start him if I had him on my team right now.
Yeah, and listen, if he strings together a couple good starts, I would trade him.
Yeah, but he's not somebody you should pick up right now. People are dumping him, actually. Yep. And it's interesting. You could pick him up if you have roster room, but with all these injuries, I don't know if you do.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people are really hurting for injury.
So another catcher I like is Yom Gomes. He plays for the Nationals. I talked about it last week. He's hitting for average. Again, not flashy. He's not going to have a bunch of home runs. He may have between 15 and 20 this year. But if your catcher's hurt or you need somebody to fill in a spot, Yom Gomes won't hurt you. I mean, he's going to hit for average. He'll get some RBIs, and he starts 80% of their games. So there you go.
Good call. All right, let's go to first base. I'm going to let you go first again. I may do this the entire show. Are you ready?
Yeah. So we talked about this kid last time. He hasn't started really hitting yet, but La Russa has a lot of faith in this kid. And a stat they're starting to use a lot, which I'm looking at, is velocity, how fast the ball's hit when he hits it, is Andrew Vaughn. He's 96%. He's top 96%. When he hits the ball goes. I mean, he has a lot of power, this kid. I know, Ross, he's hitting under 250. I know all that. but he's going to start hitting some home runs. He's going to start getting RBIs. He's a guy that you should pick up now, because if you wait till he gets hot, you won't get him. So Andrew Vaughn, I'm just telling you, he's going to start hitting. This kid's too good. Pick him up now.
I think that's smart. You need to be ahead of the curve on Andrew Vaughn. You know, we were skating by with him not playing well, so you didn't need to pick him up, but now you really need to. The other guy that I have in mind, and I've said this many times, but he kind of went off my list for a little bit. He's back. Jeimer Candelario. This guy, not John Candelario. Don't get confused.
But he plays third. I had him on my third base list also, but he does play first, right?
He does. And I think we'll have to see whether first base or third base is deeper, but he's a great pickup for that. And by the way, I should mention a Tiger, Spencer Turnbull threw a no-hitter yesterday. That needs to be. And I watched the 9th inning. Usually when I watch these things, it's ruined. So when I turned it on, I was like, oh my God, Spencer, I'm sorry. I started watching, but it worked.
So Jammer in the past 12 games, he's hitting .395, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs. I mean, he was on my list for third base, but it's a great pickup. He's killing the ball right now. And it's like, I don't understand why you're not picking this guy up if you need somebody at third base and first base.
By the way, I just realized I actually didn't mention my top catcher. I don't know how I missed this, but
Who is it?
Williams Astudillo.
He's still in the league? I thought he retired. I'm just kidding.
And this guy, he never walks and he never strikes out. He's like a contact machine. Now, he's not always in there, but you know, people, you know what the joke is about his name? Filmed in front of a live studio audience. Hey, that's Williams' studio for you. And he is really good. He's really good.
I mean, it's just playing. It's with him. It's playing time. It's getting starts. And the important thing about catcher is you want the guy that's going to start 5 out of 7 times during the week. You want that guy on your team. You don't want the guy who's just catching twice a week. You want the guy that's catching 5 times a week.
That's true. It's true. But listen, I would rather combine with him and have Mike Zanino come in and just not have his average hurt me so much. Now, we do have another commenter saying, I picked up Jamison Talon yesterday and he screwed me. That's Jamison Talon for you. I mean, he's just hit or miss. What do you think, Ross?
I think it's too soon to pick him up. I mean, you could pick him up for a week and see what he does, but it's not going to somebody that's going to win your league for you.
I'm pretty sure this was as what we call a streaker. We don't call
He's a streaker. He's a streaker. I mean, again, there's a lot better waiver guys, and we'll go through it, so just bear with us.
Okay, another question from the audience. I'm just going to say, Yelich or Ramirez from now on, what do you think? I assume we're talking Jose Ramirez.
I mean, Yelich has not done anything the past 2 years. I mean, I'm really down on Yelich. I don't think I would want him on my team right now. I have no faith in Yelich. He has to start hitting. He needs a whole month of hitting for me to get him started. I mean, there's a lot of question marks with Yelich, so I'd rather have Ramirez, obviously.
Okay. Second base, I'm going to start us off. Just to mix it up.
Wait, are we done with first base? I'm not done with first base.
We're not done with first base. What are you talking about, Ross? Why are you saying we're done with first base? What's wrong with you?
So Bobby Dolbeck of the Red Sox, he's 25 years old. He is starting to hit. I mean, again, he's a guy that hits the ball hard. He's getting a lot of starts. He's in that Red Sox lineup. He could be getting a lot of RBIs, and the Red Sox love this kid, and he's just starting to hit. So if you need a first baseman, you can stash him maybe for a little bit. I don't know how long, but he's not going to be available in 2 weeks. You heard from me first, Ross the boss.
And we'll get to this.
And another one, you brought him up, and he sounds like a golfer, doesn't he? Pavin Smith. Doesn't it sound like a golfer?
Pavin Smith, yes.
Pavin Smith. So Christian Walker is on the DL again. Pavin Smith will be getting all the starts now. So, again, I like Pavin Smith. I love his name, Pavin, and he will be getting a lot of starts, and he's been hitting great. So it could be a good pickup for you at first base.
He makes me think of somebody who went to the DMV and filled out the name wrong, and it was supposed to be Gavin Smith, and he's Pavin Smith. But anyways, I agree with you. He's a great player. But I'm going to go to second base now.
Here we go. I'm ready for
I'm
you
going to jump on Gavin Lux. This is a name we've been talking about.
I loved him last week. I told you he's starting to hit. He is in the meat of that Dodger lineup. I watched Dodgers games too. I'm in Los Angeles, and I feel there was so much hype on this kid and so much pressure beginning of the season, and even last year during the short season, that I feel he didn't get to really play as well as he could. Now I feel the pressure's off a little bit. There's other players playing for the Dodgers. He's not like People aren't like saying, "Oh, I think he's a bust," or he's not a bust. This kid is the real deal, and right now, if you can pick him up, get him immediately.
Yeah, now listen, speaking of Sam's comment of don't give up on players too early, a player like Gavin Lux, I'm even less likely to give up on. Luis Castillo is a player I could give up on because he's got a track record, and now he's fallen off a cliff from what it looks like.
I mean, Gavin Lux, 333 in the past 2 weeks, 2 home runs, 11 RBIs. I mean, he's been tearing it up.
Yep. All right, second base. Who do you got? I know you picked up one. I think I know who you're going to say.
I'm going to say, no, I didn't pick him up, but I've been looking at the stats, and this guy in the past couple of weeks, Nico Goodrum, not Joe Burrum, but Nico Goodrum for the Detroit Tigers, he's hitting like over 300. In the past 32 games, he has 4 home runs, and he has 6 stolen bases in the past 32 games, and he plays second base, which is huge. So Nico, he can play a bunch of other positions too. He plays second. I think he plays short. He's eligible in a few positions. Again, he's somebody that can steal bases, which is an oddity right now in Major League Baseball. So I like Nico as somebody who's under 50%. If you need a second baseman, it could be a great pickup.
I like that. Now I'm gonna give a shout out to you because you picked up Adam Frazier. He's another second baseman that I think has a lot of use. Will it last? I don't know. But as a streaker, definitely. Sometimes when you're looking at your lineup and you're looking down, if you do how they're hitting in the last like 14 days, I often bench guys who are not doing well right now, even if they're maybe not the top superstars, but if they're kind of back end players and they're slumping, I'd rather put in an Adam Frazier who's hitting pretty well.
Now the reason I've Adam Frazier there is because Marte, the guy who plays for Arizona, Marte, who's the second baseman, he's coming back supposedly at the end of the month. So I'm having Frazier just fill in until he comes back.
That's right. Actually, if for some reason Ketel Marte is floating out there, don't let that happen. No. He'll be back. All right, Ross, let's go to shortstop. We're going to start with you.
I mean, shortstop for me was probably the toughest position. I mean, the first guy I want to bring up, he's still under 50%, is Brandon Crawford. I mean, he's 9 home runs. He's hitting the ball hard. Every at bat, he hits the ball hard. I mean, he's really playing. I don't know what got into him, but I guess he ate his Wheaties. But Brandon Crawford, if you need a home runs or RBIs or even runs scored, he's a guy that you should pick up immediately.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's putting up the numbers. Now, Gavin Lux does qualify at shortstop also, so he might be my top one. But Miguel Rojas is still crushing the ball. He's batting .356 in the last 14 days, and I don't want people thinking we only look at the last 14 days, but it's a nice metric. And he has 13 runs in that time, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, and a stolen base while hitting .356. I don't know how much more useful you can get. That's extremely useful out of shortstop. So he'd be another huge pickup that I think you can go for. Another guy that I like is Willy Adams. This guy on Tampa Bay, he was pretty high prospect at various points. He's not Wander Franco, but he's Willy Adams, and that's pretty good actually. Ross, anybody else at shortstop?
Yeah, there is. I never seen this ever in fantasy baseball on Yahoo. This is like the first time ever. And I'm going to say a player. Let me just tell you where he's eligible. I've never seen this before. Tell me if you heard. Tell me if you heard this. He's eligible at, ready? Catcher, second base, third base, shortstop, outfield. He's eligible at all those positions. In the past 12 games, he's hitting .335. He's been destroying the ball.
Oh, I know who it is. Yeah.
And it's Kyle Farmer of the Cincinnati Reds. He's the starting shortstop. He's starting today. And he defensively, I watched him play shortstop. He's unbelievable. I mean, he should be playing shortstop, but he's eligible a catcher. And you know how valuable a good hitting catcher is. And you can sneak that guy in as catcher on your team. It's a great pickup, and you know I'm right. And he's available in like 86% of the leagues right now. It's unbelievable.
Not only do I know you're right, but I'm like, what were we talking about at catcher that we didn't bring?
I wanted to save it for shortstop because he's starting shortstop today, so I didn't want to like jump and say, oh, he's a catcher.
That's fair enough.
Catcher, he's like their third string catcher. They have Stevenson, they have Barnhart, and then Farmer fills in.
He can be useful in both. Then
Yeah. So this guy's utility. I mean, he's hitting over 300, Dan. I mean, he's been killing the ball, and he's in that ballpark where the ball flies. So that all being said, it's a good pickup.
I think it is a good pickup. The question is, is he young enough that we think he's starting to peak? He has not gotten a lot of time in the major leagues. So
he played last year. He's been in the league a little bit. I mean, he's not a newbie, but
the most.
It's just a good little player to pick up, and it'll really mess up your opponents a lot.
I
seeing all these eligibilities this guy can play.
I love it. Okay, third base. We're gonna go with you again, Ross, because it's either you or me.
Yeah,
Casey ditched us, so it's either you or me.
Yeah, I know, you're right. Casey's not here to hold our hand anymore. It's you and I. And Yandy Diaz, the past 2 weeks, he's hitting 300. He has 5 RBIs. He has 2 home. I mean, he's hitting the ball well. For Tampa Bay, Yandy Diaz is, for me, at third base. I think he's going to get better and better every week. He's a good pickup right now. He's not going to hurt you average wise, and he does like to steal also. So it's not a bad pickup.
I agree. Now it's last call on Austin Riley as far as I'm concerned.
I like Austin.
He's a third baseman and an outfielder, but he's going to be more valuable at third base in all likelihood. And he's 59% owned. So are you going to hear about him next show? Probably not. Now, in the last 14 days, he's hitting only 244. Not that great, but you have to start adjusting your eye for averages. Players they're swinging for the fences. They're striking out all the time, and their averages are just lower. A 244 hitter used to be truly bad. A 244 hitter today is, mediocre. And that's just in the last 2 weeks. Austin Riley is doing much better overall. He's one of my top pickups, and here's why. His plate discipline has gotten a lot better than it was. That's when a player could be making the leap, and he's a young player too. So I think Austin Riley, he's batting 291 for the season. 291. Austin Riley batting 291 for the season.
No, and you remember Atlanta has a great lineup. I mean, you have to pitch to Austin. You can't pitch around him.
Yep.
Because Atlanta's lineup is probably one of the most potent in baseball. I mean, they have from hitter 1 to hitter 8. I mean, they're stacked. So Austin Riley to me is a great pickup if you need a third baseman that's going to actually hit the ball and get your RBIs. He's a good pickup.
Ross, is there anybody that we've missed? Obviously, we've only mentioned 2 players, but probably there is. And remember,
I was thinking,
Candelario
I mentioned, Candelario. I mean, he plays third base too. And I mentioned that I just don't understand why he's still under 60%. Hello, audience, pick him up. He's available. I mean, he'll just keep on hitting in Detroit. Won't get any press. You probably won't watch any of his games, but when the week's over and you see how great he does, you'll be smiling. So it's good pickup for you right now.
By the way, I just want to go back for a second to shortstop because Kike Hernandez is also available. Good at second base too, and he's in that Boston lineup. And he plays
outfield too, I think too. I mean,
he does, and he was injured. He was injured, but he's back.
Is he under 60%? I mean, he is. I like Kike a lot. I remember he played for the Dodgers last year. He got a World Series ring last year.
Listen, not only is he under 60%, he's under 22%. He's
21%. Because he was hurt. People dropped him.
People dropped him, and people forget about the injured players coming back. Pay attention to that. Okay, now we're going to move into a different segment, and this, Ross, you get all the credit for this one because it was your brainchild, and I love it. But Austin Riley is a good lead into it because he's one of these players that is going to help a lot of teams from getting picked up off the wire. So we're going to talk about, actually, before we do, I need to remind everybody, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and Ross or I will argue with you. Maybe we'll agree. But let's have a discussion. By the way, I had a guy thank me for helping him win his basketball league. Anthony Jones, this is for you.
Anthony Jones, yes.
Thank you for that. It made my day. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at all the players. These are players that are over 60% owned. But
most of them, yes.
Most of them. We're looking at the best waiver wire pickups, players that were not likely to be drafted, and they have turned out to be gems. So, and we'll just trade off, and we're going to stay on this for a little bit because this one's too fun. All right, Ross, you give me one, and then I'm gonna swing right back at another. We'll go with hitters first, then we'll get to pitchers.
Okay, so my first hitter, he plays for the Cincinnati Reds, and he was leading the league in hitting at one time. I don't know if he still is Jesse Winker. He barely drafted in any leagues. No one respected him. And this kid went on a huge tear. I mean, he was hitting over 400 for the longest time. I think he's hitting 350 now. But Jesse Winker, for me, is like somebody, if you picked him up in waivers, you're like smiling. I mean, he's like, for me, I think he's the number one pickup right now for hitters.
Okay. That's a very good pick. Adolis Garcia, though.
Adolis Garcia was number 2. Yeah.
And you did pick him up in our league. So kudos to you. He's got 11 homers and 5 stolen bases while batting .295. I mean,
and he plays in Texas. And when Texas gets hot, the field rises with heat and the ball flies.
Yeah, and he's ranked 15th overall in Yahoo. This is a guy you could have scooped off of waivers. All right, Ross, your turn. Who's next? Hitters.
This kid I love. I mean, I love this kid. I love his personality. He's funny off the field. You got to watch some of his interviews. Is Jazz Grissom Jr. Jazz, to me, is just one of the players that I'm happy I picked him up in a couple leagues, and he is just playing great.
All right, that's a great call. Now, here's one that may have been drafted, but I probably wasn't and was cut even if was drafted. And this guy qualifies as a catcher, Isaiah Kiner Falefa.
Yeah.
It sounds very Jewish and Israeli. Falafel is almost in there. And he qualifies as a catcher. He ranks 35th overall. He plays catcher, and he's stolen 8 bases while batting .286 with 28 runs, 5 homers, and 18 RBIs. Now, I don't think of him quite the same way as those other guys because he really might have gotten drafted with that catcher eligibility, but still, that's pretty impressive. Ross, give me one more hitter, and then
one more hitter, Yaman Mercedes. I mean, I don't know if you saw what happened the other day. The White Sox were winning like 15-4 or something crazy. Mercedes had a 3-0 count, and instead of taking the ball, he went yard. He hit a home run in the 8th or 9th inning, and Tony La Russa was not happy. He was mad.
Yep.
That a guy would swing at a 3-0 pitch. You know, a fastball's coming. That's why he got a home run. But what do you think? Do you think he did something wrong, or do you think you're playing baseball? You should try 100% of the time, correct?
Listen, yeah, I think I understand that baseball has a code, and there's value to that. I'm not arguing that there isn't, but at the same time, I think we sometimes take things a little too seriously. I think I would like to know what was the actual motivation of the player, but often that's not what happens.
Well, I could tell you if you want the motivation is that at the end of the season, he's going to be a free agent, and the better his numbers are, the more money he'll get. So that's his motivation.
Well, and you know, we should not begrudge a player that this is their livelihood.
I'm not. That's what I think. I mean, a player can. I mean, I don't think you should tell a player not to swing if it's a pitch that he wants. I mean, La Russa is an old school guy. I get it. It's sportsmanship. I understand. Don't write your letters to Dr. Dan or me. I don't want to hear about it. But long story short, it's like it's competitive. If it's 20-0, you try to do your best.
I agree. Now here's another player, and this one cracks me up. Nick Solac. Okay, Nick Solac.
I dropped him and you picked him up.
Yeah, well, not only that, but remember, I accidentally auto-drafted him. I was like, what? I'm running out of time. Because in our league, you run. And suddenly Nick Solac was on my team, and I haven't cut him since because he's been great. Nick's
been playing great. He steals bases. He gets on base. He scores runs. He's a utility guy. He plays different positions. It's a great pickup on your end.
Let's go with pitchers that are the pickups of the year. Ross,
so my pickup, I'll go first. My pickup plays the Miami Marlins, Trevor Rogers. I mean, I don't know if you've been watching this kid. He gets no press, but he'll be if the All-Star game was tomorrow, he would be the All-Star participant for the Miami Marlins. He's that good. I mean, he's been just dealing and wheeling all season, and his stats are great. Take a look. And if you picked him up, you got a great pitcher on your staff. You got like a number one.
Now, listen, there are a couple guys on here who they threw no hitters, so their numbers are a little bit skewed. But Carlos Rodon is one of these guys, and I think he's a great pickup because we know the guy who is the White Sox. I mean, we don't know him personally, but we did get to interview Lucas Giolito.
And Lucas, remind the audience, Lucas's interview comes on today, 9 p.m. Eastern on our network. So make sure you watch.
That's right, and he's going to talk about his high school baseball pitching coach is now the White Sox pitching coach. It is a magical story, and clearly he did some magic with Carlos Rodon. So I think he's a big pickup. All right, who else do you have, Ross?
I got Alex Wood of the San Francisco Giants. You're saying Alex Wood, he was a Red last year. He was a Giant before that. He's been journeyman crazy. Look at his stats. ERA under 2. I mean, he's been wheeling. And the Giants are in first place not because of their hitting, because they're pitching.
Yeah,
and they have him. They have Disco. They have some great pitchers on their team that are playing unbelievably out of their norm. And Alex Wood is one of them. And if you start Alex Wood every game since the season started, you're in great shape. And
speaking of the Giants, Kevin Gausman has been that great too. And he
the whole staff, even Johnny Cueto.
Yeah. I mean,
that's why they're in first place. They're not there because of Buster Posey hitting home runs.
No, it's true, but that is also happening somehow. Now let's go with one more, and then we're going to move to outfield. Last chance. Go ahead, Ross.
Freddie Peralta. No, I don't want him. Okay, keep going.
Well, let's. I mean, I think. Look, there's always going to be closers that emerge, but Kendall Graveman has been lights out, and I know he's not getting a ton of saves for Seattle. His WHIP is .54, and his ERA is 0. He has not allowed a single run.
No, he hasn't, and he doesn't get many opportunities in Seattle. And they sometimes bring in the other guy too. I mean, I don't know if they're 100% sold on him, but he'll get 25, 20 saves this year. I mean, I like him. And another guy that I like too is Texas, Ian Kennedy. I mean, has 11 saves this year. He's been lights out, and he's their closer. He's not losing his job.
That's true. And you could have picked him up for free pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, Ian Kennedy. So the relievers is a whole list. I mean, I can go through a whole list with you with relievers.
Let's move on to outfield, but I do want to remind the people out there that if they want to come on to talk with us, as James Ward did actually the other day to talk to me, you can come on at www.callmfsn.com. You can come on video or on audio. You can text also, but that's not very exciting and no one would really see it. Okay, let's talk about outfielders, top outfielders, 60% and under. Who do you got, Ross?
I said this name last week, and I'll say this again, is Willie Calhoun. He is on a tear. He's hitting the ball. He's another Texas outfielder. I know we talked a lot about Texas today, but I mean, he is somebody that's under 50%. He has over 20 RBIs right now. He's hitting the ball. He has home runs. He can steal bases. And there's so much hype on him when he started his career. I think right now he's fitting into his mold. So Willie Calhoun for me is my number one pickup in outfield.
I love Bill Calhoun. Nobody calls that dude Bill. Okay. I think that Robbie Grossman is way up there on my outfield list, and I'll tell you why.
Robbie, huh? I mean, he's playing great. I mean, like you said last week, it sounds like a bar mitzvah kid. Who's the bar mitzvah are you going to this week? I'm going to Robbie Grossman's, you know?
Yeah, Robbie Grossman's. It was great. Oh my God, they had the best cupcakes. It was amazing. He's stolen 7 bases. He has 4 homers, 20 runs, 18 RBIs. You know, really solid numbers. You can get a lot of players on these quote unquote bad teams. I'm not saying it as an insult. I'm just saying you got to look out for it as fantasy baseball players. Now, I'm going to say that this is a little breaking the rules because every once in a while there's a guy who's still close to 60%, but a little bit above. I just want to hear your thoughts, Ross, on Tyler Naquin. I don't know what to make of this guy. He's got 9 homers and 27 RBIs.
I know I watch him play. I know he played for the Cleveland Indians before. He plays for the Reds now.
Listen, the fact that he played for the Indians and the fact that I watched him is why I don't.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with him is this, and I'll be honest with you, he's not a guy that's always penned into the lineup. He's a pencil guy. So you don't know if he's starting. You don't know how much playing time he'll get. And it's a big red flag for me, for especially outfielders. So, okay. I mean, I like him, but unless the Reds have a huge injury in the outfield, I probably wouldn't pick him up.
Here's a little pro tip, though. If there is a guy like that, and he's often penciled in the lineup, if he's an East Coast guy and you got a West Coast guy waiting behind, you can do that. You can really get away with that.
Could. If your wife lets you get on the computer during dinner time, you could.
It's true. And listen, there's lots of women out there who are playing fantasy sports. So if your husband lets you do it also, we got to remember that. Okay. Anybody else in the outfield?
I'm going to say a name. It's your blood pressure is going to rise when I say it. So I'm going to say it, and I'm just going to look at your face when I say it. Ian Happ. Ian Happ.
So
he's been hurt. He just got off the IR. He's been destroying the ball. He's hitting over like 300 since he's been back. He's starting every game. I know you're not a fan of his, but I had to bring his name up just because I know how much you despise him. Not as a person, just as a player.
Yeah, well, I don't even. I actually enjoy Ian Happ. Even
no, you don't. You're lying.
No. I do, because he makes me right all the time.
Okay, good. Okay, fine. Okay, makes you right. But what I'm saying is this: Ian Happ is off the IR. He's playing. He's starting. He's hitting the ball really hard. It could be a good pickup for you. I know you're against it, but we'll keep tabs on Ian Happ. We'll see. I'll be pro Ian Happ. You're anti Ian Happ. We'll see who wins.
That's right. Listen, I wish people well, but I really enjoy Ian Happ. Makes me right all the time.
He's available in 80% of the league. So go ahead and pick him up.
That was like, I can't believe you didn't list Ian Happ in your top 10.
Avisail Garcia for the Brewers. I mean, I always say I don't know why he's under 60%. All this guy does is hit home runs and get RBIs and score runs. I have no idea how he's still under 60%, and he plays every day. So
and Tyler O'Neill is under 30%.
He's hurt. Tyler's hurt. He's on the IL. Let's not go crazy on him.
Fair enough. But what's his injury? I mean,
wrist.
How bad is it?
Wrist. He's on the IL, so it's not day to day.
Out for more than a couple of weeks. A guy.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
I
don't know. I'm just telling you, he's hurt. He's not a streaker. Don't pick him up unless you can stash him on IL. But I like O'Neill, but he's not going to be playing this week.
But I would say this is the time to pick him up because he's injured.
I mean, I know I mentioned the Groom, Trout. I mean, Stanton's on the IL. There's so many good players on the IL right now. It's unbelievable.
Yep. Okay, let's move to starting pitching, and then we're gonna get to the dreaded closer.
Ooh, right. Okay, go.
Ross. Who do you have?
So I mean, like you mentioned him earlier, he pitched no hitter. He's having a great, just not because no hitter, but he's pitching great. He plays for a small market in Detroit. Is Spencer Turnball. Spencer is his ERA is like close to 2. He has the stat I love the best is this. He has like 33 innings and like 40 strikeouts, something crazy like that. He has more strikeouts than innings pitched. I mean, he's really wheeling and dealing this year. And when a pitcher has more strikeouts than innings pitched, that's a big plus. You know that. And he's just pitching no hitter just solidifies him. I mean, you're like, maybe I should pick this guy up. So if I had to pick a player up for streaker reasons, Turnball's my guy.
I mean, look, I also think if you pick up Turnbull and he continues to pitch well for a little bit, I would probably turn him around for a better value because I just don't think he's going to hold on to that. But I was thrilled to see him throw on a no-hitter. It was amazing. Rich Hill is a guy that I think I would be interested in picking up right now. He's got a 108 whip for the year, and he always does this.
Let me ask you a question about Rich Hill. How many runs has he given up the past 2 weeks?
I actually don't know that.
0.0.
Oh, he's pulling a Kendall Graveman? All right.
He is the past 2 weeks. And you're right. I think he's the oldest pitcher in the American League or close to it pitcher. And he is playing great. I mean, and Tampa Bay, tell me if I'm wrong, every year Tampa Bay always has loses all their great pitchers. They all go somewhere else.
Yep.
And all of a sudden they have these new pitchers that come in and they pitch great. I mean, I don't know if there's their pitching coach or it's just the water in Tampa. I have no idea.
I don't know what it is, but you're right.
But it's like Rich Hill, who the Dodgers gave up on. He's been on a lot of teams. A lot of teams gave up on him. Now he's rejuvenated in Tampa. It's unbelievable, and that's a great pickup for you. I agree.
Well, and look at what happened with Tyler Glasnow. He was in Pittsburgh. They traded him to Tampa Bay. Now he's a complete ace, which I saw.
Yeah, and look at Blake Snell. He went to Tampa, had a great year. Now he's in San Diego. He's struggling.
Yep, and you'd think he'd be doing well in that environment, but
yeah, no, I mean, I could pitch there, and I could, yeah.
Okay, another guy. Go ahead, you.
And I'll keep the Tampa streak going. Shane, this kid, it sounds like a good Irish name. It's Shane Mccallahan.
Yes. Oh, yes. Shane
thank you.
Mccallahan.
And this kid pitched 17 innings, 22 Ks. And again, when a pitcher has more strikeouts than innings, that's a huge plus. I know his ERA is a little high. I know it's a little high, but he'll get better. But Shane is one of these Tampa Bay pitchers that are going to be like a high price guy in 2 years from now. I mean, it fits the mold.
No argument here. Now, Luis Severino is an injured guy that
he's coming back. He's pitching off the mound. I heard. I got my sources.
He's coming back soon. He's coming back soon. And I'm not actually that high on him. I don't think he's going to come back and be a fantasy ace. but could he be? He could get all the way up to. Well, he could get all the way up to being an ace, but I don't think.
Yeah, but the thing is, you could pick him up and stash him in your IL.
Yep. I've been talking about Cole Irvin. I still do like him. His strikeout numbers are down, so I'm not super high on him. But I think if you need a guy in a pinch, he's a good guy for you. And one other guy, we've mentioned him before, Logan Gilbert. This guy is, I think you mentioned him last week.
I saw him pitch. He pitched his first game last week. He's pitching today.
How tall is he?
6'6", and his parents were there when I saw the game. He gave up like a couple home runs. I felt bad for him, but this kid supposed to be like the best pitcher in like the minor leagues this year. So a lot of hype on this kid. We'll see how good he is.
He's leapfrogged Mackenzie Gore because Mackenzie Gore was having problems.
Yeah, and remember he's his second start in Major League Baseball's tonight. So make sure you see how he does on the Seattle Mariners. I like him. I'm not sold on him yet. We'll see what happens. And Robbie Ray, I know you're saying, Ross, why are you bringing up Robbie Ray? You know, he's been in the league for years. He pitched for the Diamondbacks. Now he's with Tampa. Now he's with Toronto. Again, I'll tell you the stat. He has 48 strikeouts in 41 innings. I mean, his ERA is close to 3. I mean, he's been wheeling and dealing this year, and he's an inning burner. And it's hard to find these guys that the coach will let you throw more than 7 innings. I mean, a lot of these pitchers have a pitch count, baby him and all this. I mean, this guy, Robbie, will pitch. If they let him, he'll pitch the whole game. He has a rubber arm. It doesn't matter. But Robbie Ray's having a great year. If you need a pitcher and you need a guy that's going to get you innings, he's the guy you should pick up.
And that's a good point. I mean, you're going to need a guy who can burn innings and not hurt you, but you can get for cheap. So yeah. I really do like
And he's pitching like, I don't remember how he had some great years in Arizona. I don't know if you remember that, but
no. Well, at least the 1 year. He was completely insane that 1 year.
So Robbie Ray, for me, he's under 50%. I don't think he'll be much longer there, but we'll see what happens.
Okay. Let's move to relief pitcher, the dreaded closer spot, which is always just rotating around. I mean,
it is.
It's like managers are just like.
I mean, all I'm doing is on the phone with all these people trying to find out who's closing where and what's going on. I have to keep up. It's tough.
Yeah, and like you have a closer, and they're like, oh, they've rattled off 4 saves, but I think we'll just change. That's the kind of thing managers do with their closers. It's crazy.
They do,
especially Tampa Bay. My God, you might find your closer suddenly starting a game in Tampa Bay. Happens all the time. All right, so let's talk. Now, we did mention Kendall Graven, but he was actually 64% owned, so he does not qualify for this. He gets the Tyler Naquin Award of relief pitchers.
So the guy I like right now, could change to next week, is Michael Fulmer of the Detroit Tigers. I'm doing a lot of last week our theme was, I think, the Giants. Now the theme is the Tigers. Don't ask me why. But Fulmer he's been their closer. I mean, it's his job to lose, and he's been pitching great. I think he has 2 or 3 saves this season. He used to be a starter, but now they put him in the bullpen, and it's his job to lose. So if you need I think he's like 21% owned. So if you need a closer, and I don't know how long I have the job, but it's a streaker type situation, pick up Fulmer. Why not?
There's no guarantees with a closer. Well, they may have the job. It could be gone the next day.
They could, but again, he'll get you saves. There's no one else has the job in Detroit, so it's his job to lose.
I think to win saves, you got to stay on top of it because you're going to have those guys for like a week.
All I do is look at look at transactions and see what the manager's thinking. That's all I do.
Right. So let's throw out a couple other names and let's discuss whether we think they're. So Josh Staumont on Kansas City. I don't know what kind of status does he have as the closer? He's got 4 saves. His numbers are great. Is he gonna keep that job? Does he even have that job?
You know, the rumor is that it's a rotation in Kansas City. I don't know.
See,
but if it's a deep league, it's a good pickup.
But I think I would rather go with TJ Antone because
TJ Antone was my second one. I think the Reds learned the hard way. I think they're going to make him the closer. His ERA the past 2 weeks. How many runs has he given up the past 2 weeks, Dan?
I actually don't know.
It's the same GPA you had in college, 0.0. That's what he's done the past 2 weeks. He's been lights out. He has a great beard, not as good as yours, but he has an unbelievable beard. We all love his beard, TJ. He went to TCU, great college for baseball, unbelievable. He's a froghorn, and he is pitching he's the Reds' best pitcher. That's all I got to tell you. I don't have nothing else to say about TJ Antone except he'll be the Reds' closer probably the rest of the year.
All right. Well, let's also talk about the Toronto situation. What do we?
I don't know what the hell's going on. I mean, that's a merry-go-round.
Well, it is a merry-go-round, but really, there's only two guys that are.
There's Romano. I know the other guy's hurt. I mean, they have a guy that's in the DL that's coming back.
You're talking about
that was closing like earlier in the year.
Are you talking about Dolis or Merriweather?
Merriweather.
Okay, because Dolis, I think, is actually he's the guy that I would like to own. He's the guy I do own actually in our league, but he was doing well when he was in that closer spot. He just came back off the IL. I think he's a good player to grab. All right, I think we've covered it. But
well, the one more guy again. I don't know whose job. I really don't know whose job it is. It's the guy. It's San Francisco Giants. They have McGee and they have Rogers. I don't know who's closing. Rogers closed last game. Then McGee closed last game. Rogers closed the game before. Long story short, Rogers in the past 2 weeks has 4 saves. I like Tyler Rogers. He has not given many runs up at all this season. He's been on fire. It could be a good pickup for you for a closer. McGee has looked awful, but all of a sudden they gave him a save opportunity yesterday and he looked good. So I don't know what to tell you, but as long as the Giants keep winning, there could be room for 2 closers. I don't know.
There could. And listen, if you play in a relatively, if you play in a league with a relatively deep bench, you might want to just scoop them both up. If you're looking for, I think this happens too often. People will pick up just one of the players thinking, I think this is the guy. Why not? If you've got room on your bench, pick them both up, see what happens, and then you'll get it. I did that one year with, it was Rafael Soriano and JJ Putz to bring up some old names. And nobody thought JJ Putz would get it, including me, but he did. And then he was a complete killer of a closer the rest of the season.
And remember, what team was he on when he was closing?
The Seattle Mariners.
Right.
I'm all about the Seattle Mariners closers today for some reason. So I think we've covered this well, and I feel really good that we also gave those awards out of like those players that got scooped up. And by this point, those players are for real. A lot of them. I mean, look, we don't know about Tyler Naquin, but we know about a lot of those players that we talked about who have gotten scooped up. And Adolis Garcia is one that I brought up. We brought up.
Adolis Garcia, if he keeps hitting like he's hitting, he's going to have 30 plus home runs, 100 plus RBIs, 20 stolen bases. He probably gets some MVP votes at the same time. I mean, that's somebody that hasn't been drafted in most leagues. I mean, think about it.
Yeah. And listen, if he keeps doing that, he'll not only have 30 plus homers, he'll have $30+ million. It's coming.
You're right. I mean, there's so many good players in waiver wire still. I still believe Wander Franco is going to be brought up. He'll be making his debut very soon. And you guys, Cody Bellinger is going to start. He's going to do rehab assignment soon. So he'll be playing soon for the Dodgers. So you're getting guys back from the DL or even from the minors that are going to be ready for Major League Baseball. And we'll see how they do. Absolutely.
And you really do have to pay attention for that. I mean, Chris Sale is 65% owned, so I didn't mention him, but he's a guy that you got to grab. He could be a complete difference maker. I'm not saying he's going to be. I know Ross thinks he's going to get 0 wins when he comes.
Zero.
I don't see that. I think that he will do a good job. So, guys, it has been a pleasure. Ross, it has been a pleasure. Casey, it's your loss. Yeah, I don't know where.
I don't even know who Casey is anymore.
We don't even know who you are.
I don't even know who Casey is, but you know what, Casey? We're excited to have you back next week.
That's right. We'll take you back with open arms, or at least we'll take you back. Okay, guys. This has been great. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and we will get back to you personally. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you pick up those players. We've got the names for you. And come back next week. Same time, 7 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays, 4 p.m. Pacific.
We're gonna set the internet on